been a Nintendo junkie my whole life, so speedrunning came naturally to me. The urge to never stop running, pick the best route, the hardest fights, this was just how I had always played games. So when Metroid got its hooks in me, it was no surprise I couldn't just simply beat the game. I never really had a choice. I had to destroy it. I'm ChX42. That's me, but in 2018, I looked a little bit more like this. That's because I took a pretty nasty fall walking on an ice rink. I went airborne and fell directly on my shoulder. The result? This gnarly fracture. As you can see, I did a pretty good job, shattering my collarbone right in the middle. I had to have surgery, and when it was over, I was the proud owner of this giant plate and 12 screws holding it all together, pretty much making me part robot now. I was out of work for 5 months, and it was awful. After the surgery, I couldn't really do much, but I was able to play Nintendo games, and I watched a bunch of YouTube videos. Naturally, I started watching videos about Nintendo games, and that led me to a page with some of the greatest videos about speedruns in the history of their world records. I'm talking about none other than the one and only Summoning Salt. It just so happens that right after I broke my collarbone, Summoning Salt put out a new speedrun world record progression video. The title? World Record Progression, Metroid. There were 2 records in this video that were highlighted, and both of them seemed ridiculous. The first is the Chris Knight 1543 any% deathless no major glitches time, which we now refer to as any% classic. This time stood for 5 years when Summoning Salt's video came out. The next was the any% deathless time held by Metroid Mcfly. This world record involved a glitched route of the game that only he had pulled off, and he was way ahead of anyone else at 1140. This video got me hooked on learning the speedrun for this game, because it looked super challenging and fun at the same time. And it was. The more I got drawn into Metroid, the more I started watching Mcfly's runs. He was running 4 categories of Metroid: any% deathless, all bosses, and all bosses deathless. Any% means beat the game as fast as you can, any way possible. It's pretty much the fastest time you can get in a game from start to end, anything goes. Any% deathless adds the caveat that you can't die, because dying warps you to the beginning of an area and can allow you to skip large portions of the game. Metroid also has a feature that if you press start on the first controller pausing the game, and then press up and A on the second controller, you can emulate a death and allow you to go to the password screen. This feature is allowed in any%, but not in any% deathless, since we consider it an emulated death, seeing as it has the same result. All bosses and all bosses deathless require you to kill both Kraid and Ridley instead of skipping one of the 2 bosses. And just like that, I was hooked. After a year of learning all 3 any% categories, I finally felt like I was getting good enough to catch one of these world record times. I was trying to put up the second sub 10 minute any% game ever, but I needed to take a break because it wasn't happening for a while. No one had ran the no major glitches version of the game in ages, so I decided to look at the Chris Knight any% classic run. I found quite a bit of time in revising his route just a little bit. By skipping one E-tank and getting the one in Kraid's room before the fight, I would gain about 12 seconds. I also streamlined some movements to save some more time, and on October 3rd, 2019, this happened.
Okay, we need missiles right here, man. This is it. Yes! Yes! Yes!
This was it. All I had to do was get to the elevator, and it was mine. After over a year of pushing the game, I was finally able to get my first ever world record of 15:26 any percent classic, beating the 6-year-old time by an amazing 17 seconds.
Yes! Unbelievable! Yay! Dude, sub 1530! No way!
Now, I would have loved to say that I was the first person to catch one of Mcfly's times, but that is not how this story went down. All Bosses had one of the best retro speedrunners out there gunning for the world record, and it was none other than Yogidamonk. He was able to get a 13:45 using the Ridley First route on October 9th, 2019, claiming the title of first to catch Mcfly. As for the rest of the year, I aimed to catch either any percent or any percent deathless, and while I grinded the game tirelessly, I was still unable to catch either time before the end of the year. But I was getting close. Really, really close. I was within striking distance, only a second off of any percent, and within 10 seconds of any percent deathless. I was leaving for the Awesome Games Done Quick speedrunning convention, and I wanted to catch at least one of these times before I left. Going to AGDQ would be cool, but going days after taking an extremely hard world record from a legend would be way more insane, and I only had one more day to make it happen. I had both sets of splits up on my setup, and I would mix up which route I was doing to keep things interesting. Somehow, I was able to land an 11:14 on the 7th, and break the any percent deathless world record hours before leaving for the convention. I met so many runners at AGDQ that I had only watched online, including Tecate, fellow Metroid runner and SMB2J world record holder. We became instant friends, and he was my guide, introducing me to the community and letting everyone know that I had taken the Metroid any percent deathless world record. The event was a blast. Hanging out with so many cool people and learning how to destroy games for 3 days was a motivational boost to keep grinding Metroid and cement my name amongst the other runners that so many people idolize. So when I got home, the any percent grind continued. 1 week after getting back home, one of the most epic days in speedrunning history was about to take place. It would be known to those who witnessed it as World Record Day, and 4 major NES games were about to have their times improved, all within 24 hours. The games were Super Mario, Super Mario 2, Super Mario 2 Japan, and Metroid. I Love Mario was the first runner able to grab a world record, and Super Mario 2 was the game he'd make it happen in. He got on a run that was ahead from the start, and with near-perfect execution throughout the run, he continued to gain time and stole the world record from Cool Kid by 1/100th of a second. Next was Tecate. His game of choice was Super Mario Bros. 2 Japan, known as the Lost Levels in the US. I was super pumped to hear about my friend getting a new world record, which only fueled me to catch Metroid even more.
Is it? Is it? We have to frame count it. I think it is.
Oh, it was. And if that wasn't enough, Kosmic was about to catch everyone off guard with his best time ever in Super Mario Bros. I mean, what are the odds that 3 Mario games will all get new world records in the same day? The run he was about to throw down wasn't just a new world record, but the end of his journey with SMB1 and the run he had set out to make happen.
Yes, dude. Yes. I did it. Holy cow. I almost knocked my chair over. But I did it. Holy cow. That was exactly what I wanted to do.
While Kosmic was ending his journey with SMB1, I was starting a new chapter in Metroid. One where I was the one setting the time to chase. A minute into my run, I saw the message in chat. Kosmic world record, 455.6.
Tonight is the night, dude. I have to get world record now.
I don't think anyone really thought it was going to happen on this particular run, but I kept pushing forward. The crane fight was sloppy at best, flipping me back and forth, but good enough to keep close to pace. I was focused. If there was a chance, I was going to keep trying.
Tecate and Kosmic world record, same day. That's awesome.
Bridge skip was the next hurdle, and I needed a good one if I wanted a shot.
Oh, come on.
Missing that jump could have thrown it all away, but I recovered quickly and kept pushing forward.
Oh, God damn it.
I was 2 seconds behind my personal best, but if the game gave me missiles, there'd still be hope. Incredibly, RNG let me pass, but I'd still need a miracle. I'd need the best mother brain hallway that I'd ever done.
Yeah, dude. Let's f***ing go.
As soon as I killed Mother Brain, I knew I had it. There were no nerves, just excitement. This is what I had worked to accomplish. For the first time, I was going to be able to say that I had the fastest game of Metroid ever. I kept thinking about how a week earlier, Tecate, Kosmic, and I were all hanging out at AGDQ. No one would have ever thought that a week later, we'd all get world records on the same day.
Yeah, 3x! That's gotta be fucking 3x. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Tonight was the fucking night. Holy shit, dude.
Now that I had taken all the any percent category times, I started to focus on all bosses. My new goal? Catch all the times Mcfly had once held. Yogi had taken all bosses to 1345, and I was focused on catching him. One thing that I haven't mentioned about the all bosses run is that it involves a trick called zombie glitch. By having a Metroid kill you while you are on the elevator after entering Torian, you are able to take the elevator back to Brinstar by pressing up just after you die. The game for some reason doesn't kill you, but you have 0 health now. Metroids are unable to hurt you, but anything else in the game can kill you in one hit. By doing this, we are able to reroute the game and skip the ice beam. This saves a significant amount of time and ups the difficulty of the game severely. You have to beat the last screens of the game damageless, which is hard enough, but you have to get there on pace first. Yogi had been pushing the Ridley first route, but on February 8th, I took the time back, putting Kraid first on top again.
BAM!
All Bosses Deathless was a less optimized category, and can use the zombie glitch as well. A month after catching all bosses, I took the All Bosses Deathless time and reached my goal of having all 4 world records Mcfly had once held.
Yes! Yes! That's it! I know the split didn't go off, but that's it! That's world record! I know the split didn't go off, but I know we got it. That's it, man. That's what I wanted. I wanted all of them. We got all of them now. All of them!
Yogi and I continued to push for 13.3x, and 3 days later I took the All Bosses time down again to 13.37, putting up an elite time in the category and felt it was a good place to take a break. But this isn't even close to the end of the story. We haven't even mentioned the next top tier runner to destroy the game. I'm talking about the 2D Metroid master himself, CscottyW. CscottyW is probably the best 2D Metroid runner there is across all the 2D Metroid games. It's a bold statement, and I stand by it. He currently has about 30 world record times across all these games, and I knew if anyone was going to push the game further down with me, it was going to be him. He had been dominating the 100% categories all year while I was hunting the other category times. He had improved the 100% Deathless world record 4 times, and he took the 100% world record earlier this year. Now he was looking for a new challenge. All Bosses Deathless became his next grind, as the technical difficulty of the Iceless Torian was a challenge that sparked his interest. It didn't take long for Scotty to propel himself to the top of this category. By May of 2020, Scotty had grinded the All Bosses time down to an amazing 13:28, 9 seconds faster than my time.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Sub 13:30. Holy cow.
I was not going to let him take this time that easily, but catching Scotty was going to be harder than any other time that I had gotten so far. I studied his run and compared it to my own, scouring the video looking for time saves and strategies we may have missed. I pushed and pushed until a month later, I barely was able to beat his time by 1 second, putting up a 13:27. It was a brutal grind, but I had the 4 coveted times once again. I kept playing and pushed down any percent Deathless to 11:12 before I came up with a new challenge I wanted to conquer. I wanted to beat Metroid Damageless, and I wanted to use the Kraid first route. Beating Metroid Damageless already seemed ridiculous to most people, and using the Kraid first route made it even harder. How was it even possible? Well, let me show you. Following the Kraid first route, the first issue is entering Kraid's room. We use a damage boost to get pushed through the missile door normally. Obviously I couldn't do that, so I needed to take a detour. On the way to Kraid, there is a missile pack you are able to pick up which takes less than a minute to get. By doing this, you still save tons of time in routing compared to getting the missile pack in Brinstar. After getting back on route and reaching the missile door, I could simply shoot it open as intended. The next hurdle was the Kraid fight. Normally we get an E-tank and take all sorts of damage while killing Kraid, but for Damageless, I would have to dodge everything. After killing Kraid, the next real hurdle wouldn't be until getting the Ice Beam, and it's 100% luck. Entering the door for Ice Beam, there are random bugs that can hit you while you are in the door. Basically, this would kill a large percentage of runs that got this far for no reason. If the bugs let me get the Ice Beam, the next big hurdle would be Torian. I'd have to lure Metroids close to certain doors and freeze them to despawn Rinkas. Rinkas and Metroids share spawn slots, so keeping the Metroids on the screen would let me pass through the doors before Rinkas could snipe me. If I could make it to the Mother Brain hallway, I'd again have to freeze Metroids right next to the door and then roll into the room. Then of course, Mother Brain hallway Damageless is the last hurdle in this route. I thought it was going to take me a lot longer to achieve this goal, but 6 days after starting attempts, I landed a 2509. I had prepared myself for a longer grind, and since I had landed that so quickly, I decided to put up a run in the All Bosses Classic category that hadn't been optimized yet. This was effortless, but I figured I might as well put up a time since I could. I officially held 7 Metroid world records by this point, and I was pretty content with all of my times. For a while. The rest of 2020, I figured I would submit runs to various events since I had the momentum of taking all these times down. I took a trip to visit Tecate, and while we were hanging out, we decided to submit a run of Metroid All Bosses to AGDQ. We figured that it would be more fun than me just putting up a run by myself. We submitted the run on the last day before the deadline, and we were excited to find out that they accepted the run. This was amazing, and we were both on cloud 9. Getting accepted to AGDQ was an honor, and the next thing we needed was some amazing commentators for our run. Obviously, we thought that having the GOAT, Metroid Mcfly, would be the perfect commentator for our run. It would have been epic, but before I could get a response from him, he decided to part ways with speedrunning and deleted all of his times he had ever put up. Mcfly deleting all of his times was a huge deal to the community. Runners have deleted their runs and records in the past, but usually they aren't as well known. Summoning Salt's video had brought a lot of attention to the game, and his disappearance had people asking all sorts of questions. What happened to Mcfly? Was he banned? Did he cheat? Why did he delete all the videos instead of just retiring and keeping the historical runs? For the next few months, people continued to ask these questions, and while I have my own theories, no one really knows exactly why he did what he did. It definitely bummed me out to have pushed so hard to catch his times, and then have him delete them all out of existence. I had put up an epic effort to catch these times, and all of a sudden the speedrun.com board looked as if I dominated Metroid for the last year unopposed. I felt like it took away from what I had done. I wanted people to know what a journey it had been chasing his times. All I could do was just keep pushing forward with the live events, hoping he would come back so we could push the game further together. Unfortunately, Mcfly has remained on the sidelines, never returning to the grind or putting back up his runs. Luckily, there is still the Summoning Salt video out there documenting his times and the history of how he improved the world record. Mcfly may have given up on Metroid, but I had it by a long shot. The year started out with the AGDQ race Tecate and I did, and it was amazing. Even though the race itself was a hot mess, we got to play for 125,000 people live and get interviewed after the race by Fiesel. This was by far the largest live event I had ever done, and I decided to try to capitalize on any momentum I could from this. I started pushing for the any% 92x, but my sum of best segments was 931, so I needed to start looking for more time saves in the game. It wasn't going to be easy, but I was determined to cut the time down even more. The first time save I found was faster bridge skip, where you use 2 jumps to land on the Rio as soon as you freeze it. This ended up saving about 1 second over the previous method.
But it's so clutch when you get it.
Next, I stumbled upon the key to the newest time save that would be found. I started using different doors than we used previously for the Kraid first reps. By using different doors, I found about a 2 to 3 second time save getting to the Kraid door. This was a decent amount of time and was exciting. Finding time saves in 30-plus-year-old games is a difficult task, and even the smallest time saves are important at these levels. But here's where the story gets really interesting. I was hunting for time saves and streaming on Twitch so people could watch and chime in with ideas. There was one viewer in particular that helped us discover the biggest time save in years for the game. His name was MetalMachine. MetalMachine had a great foundation of knowledge about the back end of the game since he made randomizer games for Zelda and Metroid. While he was watching me, I was trying to figure out what was happening while I was playing the game off screen. It's pretty hard to make sense of what you were doing, and while MetalMachine was watching me struggle with this, he offered to make a Lua script that would let you practice off screen. It did this by overlaying another image of the gameplay on top of the regular game. This overlay was a dumbed down version of the game, which showed the off-screen areas as they loaded, and you could see your character in these areas. This tool allowed us to really start delving into the game and look for saves that otherwise wouldn't have been possible to find, like this one, where through precise movements you are able to load the screen below you and enter the door. I had been trying to get CscottyW to push the game with me more, but he was focusing on other Metroid games after the All Bosses grind. He hadn't shown any interest in improving the times, but then MetalMachine came out with his Lua script. Scotty saw the potential in this new tool, and it reignited his interest in the run once again. He started looking for new wraps all over the game. There had to be time saves that we couldn't see before. Little did we know that Scotty was just about to find the holy grail of Metroid tricks. The time save we had speculated about, but was just out of reach. CscottyW found the setup for early crate door, a trick only ever done in tool-assisted runs, which saved an amazing 18 seconds over our past methods of entering the crate door. This was game-changing. Early crate door was a trick showcased in the 8-bit Beast tool-assisted run of the game. The trick involved a very specific setup and was sub-pixel dependent. If you did everything right, you still only had about a 1 in 6 chance of landing it due to the sub-pixels in the game allowing it or not. No one had ever landed it in a run before, and it was believed to be a strategy for tool-assisted runs only. But Scotty stumbled upon a new setup for this trick, using the new doors we had been using for wraps. This setup involved a series of specific movements that were completed with a frame-perfect left press, but eliminated the need for specific sub-pixels. This changed everything. Suddenly, we had a way to pull off this trick with an actual success rate. It was viable to add to runs. But now, who was going to be the first person to land a run with the early crate door? Who was going to take the any percent time of Metroid below 939? Would it be Scotty? Or would I be able to take the trick Scotty found and land a run before he could? The race was on as we both started furiously grinding for world record again. It was January 17th, 2021, the 1-year anniversary of getting the any percent world record time. I had a new strategy that would make getting world record again much more attainable, but I had to land the early crate door, then capitalize on it. I was determined to make this happen again, since I knew how epic it would be to land the same world record exactly 1 year later, so I started putting up attempts. I wanted this time more than any other time I had gotten so far. I had to make it happen. After hours of gameplay, I got on a run that successfully landed the early crate door, and I was 17 seconds ahead of world record after killing crate. Now all I had to do was keep up and then land a decent Torian to achieve my goal. I had already choked once earlier in the day, and it was now or never. I was on my last leg and needed to make this one count. I pushed forward, but kept bleeding time throughout the run. I finally powered my way through Torian, but the run was barely staying together. I kept taking damage and just barely progressing. Luckily, the game decided to work with me and give me the missiles I needed. Dodging Rinkas and firing shot after shot, Mother Brain was defeated, and now I just needed a clean escape to seal the deal. 32 jumps were all that separated me and getting world record exactly 1 year later. 32 jumps have never been so nerve-wracking.
Yeah! You game! That's what I'm talking about! You think you can beat me? 1 year, baby! 1 year! Oh! Yeah, dude.
.933 was the start, but the real goal was 91X, and Scotty was right on my tail. I landed a 929 a few days later, then a 925 a couple days after that. They were solid runs, but I knew Scotty was going to catch me soon. Soon happened to be the next day. He was getting more and more consistent with the early crate door, getting multiple attempts past it every hour. Torian had been uncooperative with him, but January 28th, 2021, the game gave in and let Scotty take any percent world record from me with a 924.
Oh!
It was only 4 days later until I returned the favor and put down a 922, and I improved any percent deathless the same day with an 1110. We were getting close to the 91X, and neither one of us was stopping until it was a reality. Scotty was next to put up a PB, and it was another world record, this time by a single frame.
Have to roll in, which was a little bit of time. And didn't shoot the door open. Wow, this is crazy. THX falls down. I didn't actually mean to kill that guy. I wanted to freeze him, but that works too. Both of us at low health. Wow. Maybe like half a second sooner, my kill, and I didn't get in the door. But CHX does! Oh! Wow! Dude, that was a 22. I don't know what the milliseconds were on that. I'm going to look back on that. That's crazy, dude.
Scotty had reclaimed any percent world record, but he wasn't stopping there. He started attempting any percent deathless runs, and took that world record as well, posting an 11:05 on February 10th.
Yeah, okay.
Scotty looked as if he was starting to pull ahead of me, but I wouldn't let that last for long. We both kept grinding the 91X, and the next improvement would be less than half a second. Another 922, but now the record was in my hands again.
Yeah, dude, that escape was fire!
I was sure Scotty would take this time back, so I continued to push for the 91X. 2 days later, I shaved off another second, making the new any percent time 9:21.
There you go.
I was starting to put a gap between us again. It was just a matter of time until one of us landed the 9-1X. Any run could have been the run. 3 more days was all it took. I was on pace, made it through Torian, and killed Motherbrain. I was on track for 9:17. All I had to do was nail the escape.
Yeah, dude. Yes! Yes! We got it!
Now that this goal was completed, I aimed at getting back any percent deathless, and by the end of the month I did just that, putting up an 11:01. At this point, the goal had been reached, and I think we were both getting a bit burnt out, so the race for top time took a pause. But I had more plans for Metroid in 2021. We still had to add early crate door to the other categories, which brings us to Maytroid. Maytroid was a mission I made to get as many world records in Metroid as I could in May of 2021. Any percent deathless was the first category I decided to get, because I was so close to sub 11. 6 days in, I landed a 10:54. I continued with all bosses deathless, since I hadn't optimized it in a while. I scraped together an 18:11 that was just barely good enough for world record. World records 1 and 2 down. Now Damageless was next. The early crate door saved way more time in this route than any other. Remember that detour I had to take to grab a missile pack? Now I could just go directly to crate instead. On May 20th, I was able to put together a cleaner run than my previous one with early crate door, plus more strategies that I had skipped before. The run was 21:17, and almost 4 full minutes faster than my previous time.
21:17. Fuck it, game.
It was time to take on the iceless categories, and low percent was first on the list. It took me 6 attempts to complete this with a 14:07. Then after that, I landed an all bosses classic run, because I knew I could put one up easily. 2 records in 1 day, 2 more to go. I still had to complete all bosses, and 3 days later, I grabbed that record too. I decided to wrap up the month with any percent classic, since I hadn't optimized it since I first set it, so I was certain I could get a run to land before the end of the month. 15:23 on a sloppy run, but it was still 3 seconds faster than my previous time and another world record. 7 world records had now been set, all in 1 month, wrapping up one of the most ambitious set of goals I've ever completed. But the 15:23 any percent classic had made me realize how much further the time could get pushed down, and I had sub 15 minutes in my head as the new ultimate goal for this category. "2021 was probably one of the most eventful years of Metroid speedrunning ever, and as the summer of Samus marched forward, the world records kept piling up. I continued pressing the any percent classic time and started making a dent in the time around the end of June. Getting the RNG to be on pace was painful, but I kept putting up attempts, waiting for everything to line up. After bringing any percent classic down to 15:07, I kept up with the tradition of optimizing all bosses classic right after. Scotty had been waiting in the wings, but returned to his rampage of 100% deathless in late August. It continued into September, bringing the time down to 41:49. 100% Classic was his next target. 48-33 landed Scotty the trifecta of 100% categories. After that, all bosses were stolen back and pulverized down to 1257. It looked like Scotty was unstoppable, and any percent was about to be put to the test. Scotty was trying to take back the any percent time, but I was focused on any percent classic. Sub 15 was in my sights. On October 12th, I got on the fastest pace of my life. All the RNG was lining up, and I was way ahead after the crate fight. I marched forward all the way to bridge skip. Nerves were catching up to me, and I missed my first attempt. A decent recovery, and I was still ahead entering Tori. The game just had to cooperate one more time, give me missiles, and I'd have a chance to make the sub 15 real.
Yes! This game, let's go! 1451! Let's f***ing go! I'm done with this category! Done with it!
Now I was ready to defend any percent against Scotty, but he wasn't waiting to give me a chance. I had just landed the sub 15, but Scotty was about to get a sub 915. Full speed wraps and flawless execution let Scotty pull away from the start of the run. He continued to maintain that pace all the way to Torian. Against all odds, the game gave him missiles, and he'd get a shot at Mother Brain Hallway.
Okay.
Scotty had earned the title of world record holder and was now in control of more than half of the main categories. 2021 had been a crazy year for Metroid speedrunning, and after all the back and forth, these are how the times stood at the end of the year. Scotty held on to any percent through the end of 2021, but in 2022, I put up one more grind to take back the title of fastest Metroid time ever. There were no new strategies, no discoveries, only perfecting the run Scotty and I had collectively put together. No new tricks or glitches. The same run we had been refining for the last year. So I put up attempt after attempt, knowing that if I could get to the end of the game on pace, it was only a matter of time until the game would agree with me. On February 23rd, 2022, the game would give me everything I needed. The wraps to Crade were fast enough and the fight itself was safe, but quick enough to keep the run alive. Marching towards Torian, I kept up with pace, making sure each jump was as small as possible. I barely pulled off bridge skip, but it was good enough to keep going. I had about 6 seconds I could save in Torian, so I just had to get missiles and execute. I ran down these hallways I had played a million times, hoping that this time the game would let me pass. I knew that if I made it to Mother Brain's door by 7:55, I'd have a real shot. And I knew to do that, I need first drop missiles in the last room. No different than any other run, my time was in the game's hands yet again. And just like that, I got one more trip down Mother Brain Hallway. One more chance to reclaim any percent world record.
Let's fucking go, guys! There it is! Yeah! 912! That's a Torian for you! 245 Torian! Let's fucking go! Hell yeah! That's a PB! That's a world record!
The 912 still stands today, less than 6 seconds off of my sum of best. While I have plans to push this down further, this is an extremely clean run and a time I can truly be proud of. Over the rest of 2022, I've made further improvements to any percent deathless and all bosses classic, and these are all the current times for the categories through the end of the year. While all of these categories of Metroid have been improved wildly over the last few years, there will undoubtedly be new improvements in the future. As we all know, no time is ever safe while there are players with ambitions to push games to the next level. The only question left to ask is, will it be Scotty, myself, or will a new challenger come up and continue destroying Metroid?
Ooh, it's gonna be a good Torian, but I don't think it's enough. Damn it. Ho 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 ho! Ho ho ho! Ho ho ho! Ho ho ho! Woo! I think we did it! You gotta frame count it, but I think we did it! 251 Torian! Woo!